Hey guys, it's Chris with Drop Dice. What I wanted to talk about this week is actually last night's finalization of Legend of the Five Rings first story arc, the Toshi Ranbo portion. Our players kind of got to discover a lot of things that were going on in the world, and they discovered that this was a mission that was a little bit beyond them, and they had to accept that sometimes things aren't ready for. And that was the whole point of this adventure, was for them to kind of get that initial setback, because I set out this goal that I really wanted to do the hero's journey in my next Legend of the Five Rings. So I set them up, I let them be very successful, and then all of a sudden there was a battle that cost them something, and that ultimately they couldn't get the ultimate success that they wanted for. So now they have this cohesive group that they've formed through a brotherhood formed of the challenge of trials, and because of that, it's actually set them up for their first failure, and will cause them to go out and train and become something more, and they can build up and become these great heroes of the realm because they had this dramatic setback, and it introduced a lot of people that are going to be important as the story moves along. But that's not what this video is about. This video is actually about what I did to prep for that session. And this video I'm actually going to be sending over to my friends over at Absolute Tabletop, because they provided a wonderful product. Inside the description of this video is a link to Be a Better Battle Master, which Michael Barker was the main author of it. However, everybody from Absolute Tabletop, Tim and James Kearney, and then Matt Click also participated in putting together this document, which first off is a very well done InDesign PDF. The layout is exquisite. The way that the shapes were put down and things like that, like how the commentaries and little side boxes, if they keep up this product line, they are outstanding, and I would love to see more stuff from them. In fact, it's kind of got me rolling around some ideas for how I want to do the Providence document when I go to do it, because it just looks phenomenal. If for nothing else you want to design your own documents, I would suggest taking a look at the Be a Better Battle Master for ideas on how to properly set up your design concept. So all gushing about the looks of the book aside, let's talk about the content of it. Basically, inside there, you get a look at Barker, being the main author, his way of doing battles and how to make them cinematic and full of life. He's got a companion video that goes along with it. So if you get the book, you also get the companion video. If you don't get the book, you can check out the companion video, which does a very good job of explaining the flow chart and kind of how he would use it inside battle. And he talks about like a Battle of Thornridge, I think he said it was, with parachuting goblins, and it's an entertaining video because of that stuff. But I got the book, and I knew I was going to do a battle, but I decided I wanted something a little bit different than the Legend of Five Rings battle rules, because the Legend of Five Rings battle rules are very good. They work for large-scale wars. However, they have a little bit of a problem for cinematic one-on-one type of scenes. And this battle was not going to be like our players are commanding legions and there's another army of like legions of army that are coming in. It's not the traditional L5R battle. So I wanted something different. And this book actually came out Friday the 4th. So it was like really perfect timing for me, because with this stuff, I was able to apply a more direct cinematic players are part of the battle kind of battle. So there's a couple sidebars in there that kind of explain like other people's takes on it. And one of them I really liked was the one by Tim and James over at Tabletop Terrors. I believe it was actually Tim who wrote it. And he said to watch your favorite battles on movies and put an O, an I, or a C. And what those mean is like, it's O is like overall image, I is like the zoomed in, and then C was like for characters. And I forget what the actual letters meant for, but I remember the letters themselves. And he was saying it should look like something like out, in, yeah, that's what those are. Out, in, character, out, in, character, out, in. Some sort of pattern like that. And I tried to emulate that along with the flow chart, because I thought those two were the things that stand out the best for me. So if you do want to check out that video, I will include inside here in the cards section a video to our last game, so you can actually see it and play. But this video, I'm going to talk about the prep behind it and things like that went into actually setting up the battle, so that you guys can see what this supplement does. Now, Barker's video does basically the same thing, but I'm going to show you how I used it because I used it a little bit differently than Barker did. The way he did it, it was like the heroes versus the villains. In my scenario, there were multiple villains. So let me do a quick screen share with you here, and I'll show you my flowchart. Now, it's not as pretty as the one in the book, but I did it on Google spreadsheet because my original actually looks like this. It was drawn on the back of an envelope, and there's all sorts of scribbles from me writing things and crossing things out from what the players were doing. Let's look at a clean version of that spreadsheet, though. So what I've got is the ex-governor Acoma delays the peace treaty and makes the Lion attack the West Gate. From there, I talk about this is just the Lion forces and what they do. I also have one for the Crane forces. I have another one, which is for the Maho forces, which at first do nothing, and Maho is blood magic if you're not familiar with Legend of the Five Rings. And then, of course, the last one here is the Iron Fans, who are a group of Ronin inside the city. And this is why I said my chart's a little bit different. I have 4 different factions trying to do things inside the city, and they're not full legions of armies. They're just like a couple thousand soldiers, which for L5R is not that much, just to kind of give you a heads up, because they use epic Asian adventures kind of armies as a scale. So like 1,000 is not a lot of troops, but 10 to 12,000, that's a legion, and then there's multiple legions, that sort of thing. So basically, I broke it down into phases just like they normally did, but I did it per army. Now, I could have actually made an entire chart that was per army and done 3 phases for each army within the city, but I liked doing it like this to kind of show that there was a smaller force that had to be directed and had very specific goals. So instead of doing like 3 or 4 charts, I just did one chart with multiple spots on it. So I have like the Lion, they burn the city, and the infiltrators attack, and I specifically put here that they are the stronger force. And then my favorite inside here was the Lion have a cool feature about their clan. They have war lions, which are basically the animal lions trained as war companions. And the lioness, or the women who are in charge of these packs of lions, they usually have like three lions apiece. They get pretty brutal. If you actually end up becoming a master of that prestige, I think you end up having 5 lions, if I remember right, which is just crazy because those war lions are super well trained and they're just machines of combat, basically. And ultimately their goal was to overwhelm the castle and take over Toshi Ranbo, and that's what I knew that was going to happen. Is the Lion were taking back Toshi Ranbo. And then for the Crane, I've got stuff like they secure the Jade Pearl Inn, which has been a center point for the whole adventure within Toshi Ranbo. The players have gone there. They have friends and they have friends that stay there. And so at one point I had a player who was like, oh no, this girl I'm interested in the story, she's in the Jade Pearl Inn, and he went there to try and save her. So it was a really good character moment, even though it was also in the chart as a zoom out, or a zoom in moment rather. This is their zoom out moment. They're going to round up citizens and attack all Lion members around this that they found. And I kind of talked about that in the scene. And then I have spearmen were ultimately going to attack the castle, which we know that the Lion are going to take over. So there's going to be deaths. And frankly, the Lion would have a castle to defend, so they would actually win overall if the players did nothing to stop it. And their idea was to turn their weapons on city members and Iron Fans, because the Iron Fans are Ronin that are trying to basically get around both legions. I'm going to skip Maho for a second. I want to talk about the Iron Fans. The Iron Fans, their first move was to hide around the city. They actually live in the city, and they've been hiding there forever, so it wasn't a big deal that this was their phase 1, that they actually dressed up in their uniforms, and they went around the city, hid on rooftops and down alleyways so that they could protect the citizens when they attack. So phase 2, because the Iron Fans are for the city and the citizens, they attack both the Lion and the Crane clan armies during phase 2. And it wasn't really about helping the citizens. It was more about like culling the armies as they were coming in. So their idea was the best defense was a initial offense. During their phase 3, when the zombies are running around and getting crazy, their job becomes escort the citizens out of the city and spread word about the Maho zombies, and they're going to look for help to try and take back the city for the people. Now let's go over the Maho. The first phase, they do nothing because ultimately there's a big puppet plan going on, and the person who's behind the Maho wants them to do nothing during scene 1. However, scene 2, the city explodes. Once there's war and there's a good cover-up for it, you have a Maho circle that's in the castle that gets activated, and one of our bad guys, Kojima, takes Ranmaru, who is the love interest of another player at the table, hostage, and leaves her tied to a post inside the zombie-filled castle, which Jeremy's character Dietrich actually ran across town to save. And there was a really cool moment where he decided the best way to get across town was to run across rooftops. So I have two characters that are running across rooftops. One breaks away to talk to the Iron Fans and rally them. Another character goes to the city, or goes to the castle to save his love interest. And then during the whole battle, our Dragon Clan member, Miramoto, actually runs over to the Jade Pearl Inn to try and save his love interest and rally the Crane and get them on the same side, because the players saw the Maho zombies coming from the castle before even entering the castle, or entering the city, because they were at a really good vantage point. So they had a really strong lead in this battle to begin with. And then after that, the last member of the party, the Crane, actually joined with the Lion and said, "We need to put aside our differences. Let me help your people siege or take back the castle," because our Crane member, Kikita, realized that the Lion were probably the most apt to be able to take the castle and seal the zombies in. And there was a really good moment where he had to get past some of his clan hatred for the Lion. And I think that that's going to show a little bit of growth for his character ultimately. I think ultimately this whole storyline should show some growth for him, but I think Kikita's views about the Lions may have changed a little bit, because he was talking to me when the camera stopped about how the Lion now view Kikita, which is actually really cool that that Totoro's player is interested in that sort of thing. So definitely something neat to look at. The next thing that they do is they come up from the sewers. Again, because there's chaos all over the city, they can get away with this sort of thing. The zombies are coming up from there. And then ultimately during phase 3, the zombies' goal, or the Maho user's goal, is to tank both the Lion and the Crab. But it's all just to cover up the fact that they're trying to capture an artifact that's in the city. Now, my players didn't find that out, and if my players are watching this and you're like, "Whoa, what happened there?" The things that you guys did in the city did not allow you to see what they were actually going after ultimately. You decided to not chase after Kojima. Instead, Kojima. You decided instead to focus on getting the city and helping the people, which I'm very glad you did. But Kojima had an alternative purpose in the city, and that will come up later in the game. But this basically is kind of the cool thing about this flowchart is when I do this recap, this is pretty much a play-by-play of the entire battle too. So if I ever want to review anything, I have the Battle of Toshi Ranbo here, and I can be like, oh, okay, the captured artifact happened, so let's change that to yellow because I know that happened, and there was nothing the players did, and that might be a good seed for another story. The city got burned, so we're going to change that to blue because blue things happened and they weren't stopped. Let's see, the infiltrators attacked, so that's going to be a blue. And if I color code this here, it lets me know what things happened and how I can write up what happens with Toshi Ranbo because of it. So because, lions ran through the city and killed people, I may have like a child who contacts the party later on that was in Toshi Ranbo that's missing an arm due to a vicious lion attack. So a lot of this stuff is stuff I can carry over. And this did not happen, so what I can do is I can just leave this kind of blank because I'm color coding the things that did happen and the things that are potential seeds for later. So I mean, this is actually a pretty cool way to do it, is to add a little color coding. Now they don't talk about that in the book, or at least I don't remember if they do, but I thought that this would be kind of a cool thing for me to do, to be like, oh, okay, these events happened and how I can seed future stories. So if you want to take that on board, awesome. This video, actually, I'm going to be sending it to the guys over at Absolute Tabletop, so hopefully I'll get some comments from those guys because they're all pretty cool guys in the community. And if you join the Tabletop One-Shot group, you'll actually be able to meet and talk with those guys as well. Now, as far as L5R goes, I promised that I was going to be doing a one-shot. We have to work our schedules out, but there's been a lot of interest, which I can say I think is partially due to me doing this Legend of the Five Rings game in people trying L5R. So what I'm going to ultimately try to do is I'm not going to set a schedule for it, but I think I'm going to do one shots, and I'm actually going to do them in the same time frame as my players are playing in for the campaign. So it's going to be little side stories that happen in other places of the world during other times. And maybe those will spill over with each other. I may have players one shot as bad guys. I've seen other GMs do it, or at least try to do it, and I thought it was kind of a cool idea. So I'm going to totally steal that and make it my own with Legend of the Five Rings here. All in all, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, the recap and review of Be a Better Battle Master. It's a tongue twister. And you give it a shot. And if you end up liking this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, a share, subscribe to the channel. Check out those guys from Absolute Tabletop. They all have YouTube channels. Matt Click is A Fistful of Dice. Tim and James are Tabletop Terrors. And then Barker is Be a Better Game Master. His stuff is all like Be a Better Blank. In fact, he's got some t-shirts that are like Be a Better Bard, and I always think that those are kind of fun. But Be a Better Game Master, Fistful of Dice, and Tabletop Terrors. Check out their channels. And they're the tabletop one-shot group. If you're looking to get involved, I've had a couple of people ask some questions about that lately. That's usually where I pull players for my one-shots from. However, my campaign right now is the guys that I've been playing with for 5 years, and it is kind of a closed campaign. But if something comes up and I do have an available slot, I'm going to look to people that have played one-shots with me before, so I know their style for a campaign. So if you are interested in doing a campaign with me, that's kind of the best way to do it, is to join the one-shot group and be about it. Get out there, play some games, and if you meet somebody who runs a campaign that it doesn't meet my schedule, then awesome. Post your stuff. Let me know how it's going. I love hearing from you guys and seeing comments. So as always, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you at the gaming table.